up, folks? Jayme Bedingfield here. You are listening to my podcast, Too Many Words. Welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in. If you are not already a subscriber, go ahead and click that button and go to patreon.com/too-many-words and pledge your support to the show and keep this little thing of mine growing. And I was originally supposed to have a talk with Catherine Locke this week for you guys. And I did record the call. Catherine Locke is awesome. I had a wonderful time chatting with her. The service I've been using to record had an issue on their end, and our conversation, our audio, is being held captive at the moment. And I've been scrambling with that, wrestling with that, and setting up new equipment and a new setup because I'm not going to use that service anymore. There's been a few things, and yes, it is time to move on, time to upgrade. You are trusting me with your time. The guests are taking their time to talk to me, and you know, don't want those hiccups. So I didn't know what I was going to do about this week. I was super bummed to not be able to share Catherine's episode with you guys. By the way, CatherineLockeBooks.com. Go check her out if you don't know her. She's awesome, and her words are amazing, and she also offers editorial services. So definitely check her out. But yeah, I was super bummed. I didn't know what I was going to do. And after spending 3 hours in podcast forum hell, being honest with myself, I could see that I wasn't going to be very productive with the writing, editing to-dos. So I decided to put a show on anyway. Being a writer teaches resilience. And, you're going to get rejections, and you're going to keep writing, and you're going to keep fixing, you're going to keep submitting. You get ingrained with this sense of not taking no for an answer and ignoring a fair amount of common sense. So it didn't seem right to just leave you guys hanging with no episode. I know that a lot of you look forward to it, and that means a lot to me. This show means a lot to me, and I take it really serious. And even though the birth of the show was kind of, just me trying things out, I've really come to just to love it and rely on it. It's it's my therapy, and it's so hard for me to accept everything that I can't control, which is a lot. We don't have control of a lot of things. We just have to keep going and doing things and trying our best. And I like my plans. I write lists. I have concrete goals. I plan out my day. I don't like surprises. And this is all unrealistic. This is all something that I'm trying to work on. And it plays in, with the anxiety that I struggle with and the fact that I vacuum so I can control something. Things are spiraling out of control, and I grab the vacuum cleaner and control what is on my floor. And I had to do that this weekend. I was just trying to relax, but I couldn't shut my mind off because I kept thinking about all these short stories I have up in the air and my project, my book that I'm working on that I hit a snag on it. And not really a snag. I realized that there was this element, this story arc that it wasn't clicking. So I'm going back and tweaking that. So as usual, progress is not as quick as I'd like it. I like instant gratification, and I don't have patience. And those things are, they make this writing gig challenging. And I've been trying to listen to myself more when it comes to individual projects and the things that they need at the time. I have eight things on my plate that are shifting and in different phases and need different attention. And I have this habit of just micromanaging my entire week, a week in advance, deciding when I'm going to work on what. And it's funny because I know that there's always surprises, especially with a giant book like the one that I'm working on, where things pop up or things take longer, or short stories that you think are, really good, but missing that one thing. And it's so hard to just point to a chunk of time and say, I'm going to figure out this then. It really doesn't work like that. I've been doing different things with Buju boards and treating to-do lists differently over the last few weeks, and it's starting to let my mind work on what it wants to work on, but still, hitting my deadlines. It's a tricky thing. And sometimes, most of the time actually, I've been just sitting down with my computer, but with it closed, and I have a notebook. And I spend a good 20, 30, sometimes 45 minutes just free writing. And in that free writing is, you know, some of it is me complaining about getting the middle finger while going the speed limit in a school zone. Some of it is random notes or ideas on a short story, on all five short stories, on the fantasy manuscript that has been taking up my life for a year and a half. Some of it is about process or things that I've tried. Then I read it back and I'm able to, yesterday this worked really well. I did this twice, once in the morning, then had just a killer revisions session on a short story. Had some lunch, did it again, had another killer session on another story. There's something about allowing the mind to be that enables a greater sense of productivity and vision. And I'm rambling here. I just didn't want the week to go by without an episode. And I wanted to rant. I wanted to vent. I was looking forward to putting my little opening bit together for the Catherine episode. And I looked at my notes and none of them worked with today, which is another thing. You can look at the day ahead and have an idea on how you want to hit it, but the day brings its own things. I mean, life and its ever rolling dice of chance, outside elements. And I've said, you guys who've been with me for a while have probably heard me say this more than once. But yes, on the surface, this podcast is about writing and books. But writing and books couldn't exist without life. And there's so much that living your life and writing a book have in common. This podcast is a podcast about life, about dealing with things and changes, having a day where, I nothing is going to according to plan and all these things are happening and it's up to me to decide how I react to them. Can't access my planned audio for this week. What do I do? Do I go sit on a park bench somewhere? Do I focus on another project? Do I let the episode slide? Do I vent on Twitter? Do I do all of these things? Do I do none of them? Do I go get my toes painted? What I do says stuff about who I am. And I'm stubborn and I don't like being told no. If I'm told I can't do something, that's the only thing that I'm going to do. And if I'm not good at it, I'm going to get really good at it. And part of that is just from how I grew up. I mean, you know, when you're growing up in an abusive household, you develop some coping skills, some grit. I'm thankful for that grit because I apply it to work and my stubbornness. Without it, I couldn't do what I do. I wouldn't be still doing what I'm doing. That is an example of me, my life, my day, and what I'm doing. And that right there is a story. You have somebody who wants something gets in their way, and then they react. They do something. What happens, after they do something? Especially early on when I started really focusing on, writing fiction full time. I was thinking too much about the general idea of the story or the element that I wanted to include. But it just comes down to that character. Who are they? Why are they like that? What is their backstory? What's happened to them that's made them how they are? What do they do when they're challenged? What do they do when they're in love? What do they do when they're sad? What happens from those actions? The people that they surround themselves with. Do those people make them feel good? Do those people make them feel bad? Do they challenge them? What does their best friend want? How does it affect the main character? And so on and so on. And just allowing this is something that if I could go back and tell my younger self, or something that I could go back and remind myself last week, sometimes you just have to give in to the characters. If that means stepping away from the computer, if that means grabbing a bright pink glittery pen and an overly decorated journal, that's what it takes. Go ahead and get into that character. Forget that you're trying to finish something. Forget that you're trying to get published. Just in that moment when you're feeling overwhelmed or stuck, just go into that character and find out who they are and explore that and what that means and how that affects the world around them. That is what I'm bringing to the table here this week. I thought briefly because I was like, okay, I'm going to do a solo episode. There's no way I can just let one week go without an episode, especially since, I took that week for the holidays. It didn't seem right. And I was like, okay, well, I did an interlude last week. I'll do interlude 3 this week. But this episode doesn't feel like an interlude. It feels like an episode. So I decided that this is just episode 60. It's going to be a short one. It's just going to be me. I even toyed with the idea of getting questions from other people or just making up questions for myself and interviewing myself real quick. One thing that I've been thinking a lot about and talking to other writers about is theme. Theme is really important. It is so much of what makes the story resonate with the readers, and it tells us something about the writer too. And the best kind of theme is the organic theme that just comes out. I am constantly afraid of my mortality and those I love, their mortality as well, mortality in general. The fact that I know my life is going to end. And I don't know when and I don't know how. And I can eat as healthy as I can and never cross the street without looking and never text while driving, but still I don't control anything when it comes to that final day. And I think about this a lot and it comes out in my writing so much. That struggle with our weaknesses and our inability to control our fate, really. Yes, there's a lot we do control, and be kind and be loyal and bust your butt. I don't know. But there's so much, there's all these elements. It's like the wind, it's everywhere. All the things that we don't have control of. And it's really hard to disengage, especially when, most people's Twitter feeds are nothing but all these things that we can't control. Everything that challenges our fear, everything that we're scared of. We're scared of each other. We're scared of the weather. We're scared of opinions. We're scared of ourselves. We're animals with instincts. And I've been rambling on, and I hope that you enjoyed this ramble. And I will post my episode with Catherine Locke as soon as I get it. I get the audio, and I'll edit it, and I'll post it whenever that happens. I won't stick to a Thursday schedule here. It'll be up the moment I can get it up. I can get the episode up.
And as always, I really appreciate your guys' support and your patience. As you've been listening to this episode, I'm sure that you've heard that I sound different and not as good. Like I said in the beginning of the episode, I am working with a new setup that I just kind of threw together in response to this service because I can't rely on the service. I have to rely on my own setup completely. And I can tell you that the sound will get better from here. And I appreciate your patience while I collect myself and react to, the event that I could not control. And I will, however, learn from that and not continue to trust my audio with them. So yes, that wraps it up for this week. I appreciate you listening, even though my voice is less than optimal. And I will talk to you next week. I'm excited for all the guests that we have in store. So many talented writers in store for you guys. You know the deal. Follow me on Twitter at Too Many Words Pod and at Me Bedingfield. Follow me on Instagram at Jayme the Scribbler. Go to the site, tmwpod.com, and support the show on patreon.com/too many words. You guys are awesome. Over and out.